Hi. I just wanted to hop on really quick and talk a little bit about light versus dark, energetically speaking. If we're talking about emotions, then light would be, like happiness, joy, spontaneity, love. And on the heavier, darker end would be anger, sadness, that sort of thing. And um, and then you could categorize experiences as light versus darker, light versus heavy. Um, and I think what we can agree on is that there is a bit of a societal bias toward the light, right? That in terms of relationships, we tend to want to be around people who are smiling, who are light in their personality. And even inside ourselves, we tend to judge ourselves if we're in our heavier, more difficult emotions, feeling that pressure to stay light and happy and all those things. And I do think that this creates a bit of a problem because what ends up happening is even if we just speak in terms of manifestation. So people will say, oh, if you want to manifest, you need to be in these higher vibrational light energies, and that will pull in what you desire. And the problem with that is that if we have to bypass a difficult feeling in order to access the light feeling, then it creates a clogged energy in our body so that our channel for manifesting is clogged and we can't pull in like an antenna what we want to pull in. So really like this channel in our body through the chakras, it needs to keep moving and energy needs to keep moving through it. Any blockage is going to create a problem with our manifestations, right? And it's also not going to feel good. So we'll have symptoms, we'll develop symptoms, we'll become agitated and not really understand why these buried, unacknowledged, more difficult feelings exert their presence. They make themselves known whether we want them to or not in ways that are problematic in our lives if we ignore them. So what I what I want to propose is that instead, when you acknowledge the presence of a heavy emotion in your body, that you give yourself permission to treat that the same way you would as if you had a child in front of you who was showing that emotion. So if you had like a toddler in front of you and they were crying, what you would want to do is to get down low, give it your eye contact and your full presence. Let that child know that you are attuning to their needs and their state, their feeling state, before you try to solve their problem necessarily. First, letting them know that they are seen, that their feeling is valid, right? But that step is one that's really often overlooked in relationships, even with children, but especially in our relationship with our own feelings. We just kind of want to get to the next step. We don't want to be with that difficult feeling, but being with it is what allows it to actually lose its charge. It allows it to actually start to quiet. It's the being with it that does that magic more than the solving of any problem. So when we turn our attention toward a difficult feeling in the body with kind, loving eyes, metaphorically getting down low with it like you would with a child, giving it your full attention, your kind, grace-filled gaze, your attunement, your love, your care, it tends to soothe itself. And as it does, the clog starts to dissolve and you've cleared your channel. And guess what? You're free to move on to the next emotion that wants to move through your body, which could be a light one, right? So, but the thing is, you don't just do this one time. It's not like, oh, well, I attuned to that sadness, so now it should be gone. No, it just moved through. So you were free to experience some joy or some other emotion, but tomorrow or later today, that sadness might return, and then you got to do it again. So it's not, there's no time limit on this at all. You just simply keep doing it over and over. And what I believe we find is that each time a strongly charged emotion that hadn't been getting our attention, if we start to do this enough, that charge gets smaller and smaller and smaller each time it comes back, so that it starts to lose its inflamed state over time, if that makes sense. So I feel like this is something that we don't talk a lot about. I think it's really worthy of our discussion. Um, but also for the purpose that, like, what I feel like is so powerful, and what I feel like we're being asked to do as human beings in this day and age, is to figure out how to become our most authentic selves in all the ways that we can imagine that. And that it's not necessarily just love that heals the world, it's our authenticity and love that heals the world. If we're trying to vibrate at a level, at a state of love, and we have some huge unhealed wound on the inside, then we have a part that's been fragmented off of our being in order to hold that wound if we're not addressing it. And the fact that that's happened means that we can't be authentically our whole selves. And if we're not authentically our whole selves, then any love we try to give is not going to vibrate at the level that is as impactful as we'd like it to be. So I feel as though layer by layer, our task is to become more and more and more aware of who it is we truly are, and more in a state of giving ourselves permission to be authentically who we are. Now, that doesn't mean we go around screaming at people if we're angry. Their anger is not a bad emotion. How we handle our anger can be productive or unproductive. So, sitting with anger and letting it find a way to move through your body in a manner so you can get the information it holds for you, so that then you can go address the aspect of your life that needs to be addressed, that the anger made you aware of, is a whole different thing than simply like punching someone in the face, right? So anger itself isn't the problem. It's how we handle some of these difficult emotions that becomes a problem, or how we choose to bypass the emotion altogether until it's screaming at us to punch someone. That's the problem. Because the more we ignore the difficult feeling, the bigger it gets. So all of this to say, I want to invite all of us, including myself and anyone who's willing, to experiment with sitting with more honesty, with a gaze of more honesty and openness, in the direction of ourselves, to really get to know who we are, and to highlight for ourselves the ways that we are not in alignment with that, not in alignment with who we are, not really like zeroed in on our truth. And I think the way you'll feel it is that you'll feel an area of your life where you feel constricted. You'll feel an area of your life where you feel in opposition. Anytime something like that comes up, it's a little signal. Something here is unhealed. And if it's unhealed and unaddressed by you, there's probably a part, right? And if that part has been fragmented off, then you're not in your fullest authentic, authentic, authentic self. I wanted to say authenticity, but I don't know if that would have made sense. But I hope at some level, in the broader sense, that this does make sense, and that you find it helpful. Let me know. Talk to you later.